story begins by showing an old woman named Helga, in whose apartment a strange bug had entered. Helga had a condition that caused her to forget everything. That's why she would write all her thoughts on her wall. She noticed the helpline number there and called it, leading to a team arriving at her home. Upon arrival, they saw that strange liquid was leaking from Helga's air conditioner, and it was extremely foul-smelling. The helper knocked on Helga's door, and upon opening, he asked, "Why did you call again when an emergency van is already parked outside your house? If they had come to help you, why call again?" Helga explained, "I have a condition that makes me forget things. I don't remember where those people went." The helper wanted to search inside the house for the bug. As he walked in, he heard terrifying noises from the ceiling, which scared him. He guessed that whatever was there was very large and dangerous. As he moved towards the next room, he saw blood. The blood was coming from the ventilation, and when he looked inside, he was shocked to find the bodies of the two people who had come earlier to help. He started to leave, and as he turned around, he faced a spider. Before he could react, the spider attacked him and dragged him into the ventilation as well. Helga, who had seen all this from outside, was terrified and went to another room. Because of her condition, she forgot everything as soon as she entered the room. She turned on the TV and started watching it without a care. But when the spider's noises scared her again, she called the helpline for the third time, and the call was cut off. Now, we will be shown the story from 4 days earlier, or how it all began. So, the story flashes back to 4 days ago. A meteor from space collided with Helga's apartment. In the adjacent apartment lived her granddaughter Charlotte with her mom and stepdad. Charlotte often climbed through the ventilation pipes to visit her grandmother's place because she had a lot of her stuff stored there. On this particular day, when she came to get her belongings, she noticed the meteor, and on it was a strange spider. She found the spider quite fascinating. She decided to take the spider with her and then went back home. Charlotte's dad was a comic writer, and she often helped him with his comic stories. That day, while he was sketching for his comic, Charlotte approached him. She suggested adding red eyes to the comic characters, saying it would make the comic sell better. During their conversation, it was revealed that Charlotte's stepdad loved her very much, but she still hadn't accepted him as her real dad. Charlotte's grandmother, despite being betrayed by her son, Charlotte's dad, still cared for Helga. Her dad had even betrayed his own mother, leading to Helga's deteriorating mental condition and forgetfulness. Later, Charlotte was observing the spider when a bug appeared. She killed the bug with her hand, and the spider started making noises upon seeing it. Charlotte thought the spider might be hungry and fed it the dead bug. The spider devoured it in one go, which amazed Charlotte. She was astonished to see how the spider could eat such a big bug in one go and observed that it grew in size immediately after eating. Fascinated, she brought another bug to feed the spider. Meanwhile, Charlotte's dad was writing his comic story and needed her help. When he went to her room to ask for help, he noticed the jar with the spider. Charlotte was in the washroom, so he kept looking at the spider. When she came back, he told her he needed her help with his story. Charlotte assured him she would help, but she needed to sleep first. They both went to bed. At night, the spider started feeling restless, possibly because it was still hungry. The food it had eaten earlier was not enough. Searching for more food, the spider escaped from the jar and traveled through the ventilation pipes to another apartment, which belonged to Charlotte's stepdad's mom, meaning Charlotte's second grandmother. The spider attacked her parrot. In the morning, when she saw the state of her parrot, she screamed, which brought Charlotte's dad running to her apartment. He saw the parrot had been brutally attacked and was left in a terrible condition. They were puzzled and wondered who could have done such a thing. Then Charlotte's grandmother suggests that it could have been the work of a rat or some other animal. They call emergency services, and a rescue officer arrives. The officer tells them that this was the work of an insect, one with stings, which had repeatedly stung the parrot to death. The rescue team starts spraying insecticide throughout the building. When it's Charlotte's turn, she refuses, explaining that she has a pet spider and doesn't want it to be harmed by the spray. After they leave, she starts playing with the spider, feeding it some bugs. She also notices that the spider seemed frightened by the smell of her mouth freshener. That night, after everyone has gone to bed, the spider escapes again. It travels through the ventilation pipes to another woman's room. The woman's dog starts barking upon seeing the spider. She moves her dog aside and picks up a family photo. As she is looking at the photo, the spider falls on her, causing her to scream. The spider attacks her mouth, and despite her efforts, it crawls inside her mouth and starts eating her internal organs, eventually killing her. The next morning, Charlotte asks her mom for permission to visit their neighbor, a man who researches animals. She shows him the spider and asks for more information. Upon examining it, the researcher tells Charlotte that he doesn't think it's an ordinary spider. Normally, spiders take a long time to grow to such a size, but this one had grown significantly in just a few hours. He asks if he can research the spider further. Charlotte agrees and gives him the spider. After his research, he discovers that it is a highly dangerous species capable of killing humans. Meanwhile, Charlotte returns home, where her mom and dad hear a noise from the ventilation. They saw the neighbor's dog, which had entered their apartment. Charlotte's dad decides to take the dog back to the neighbor's house. Despite knocking several times, when the woman doesn't answer the door, Charlotte's dad has to force the door open. The dog immediately starts barking at something inside. Following the dog, they find the woman's dead body with bloodstains around. They call the police, who confirm that no human was responsible for her death. This frightens the building's residents, as initially animals were dying, and now humans were starting to die as well. No one knew who or what was behind these deaths. Charlotte's dad then calls her and tells her that the spider they have is extremely poisonous and could be lethal to humans. He urges her to either release it somewhere far away or kill it. This revelation shocks Charlotte's dad, who asks if the spider is indeed capable of killing a person. In response, the researcher says yes, and Charlotte's dad becomes furious. He scolds Charlotte, saying, "Don't you know how dangerous it is? Can kill humans too. You can't keep it in the house." Charlotte retorts rudely, saying, "You're not my dad. You can't scold me or restrict me. I know this spider is harmless, and I will keep it. That's my decision. The scene cuts off. We are then shown a nighttime scene at the researcher's house, where the spider had eaten all his animals and was now in the ventilation system. Charlotte had brought the dead neighbor's dog to her home. The dog, sensing danger, started barking furiously at the ventilation, as if it knew something was wrong inside. We then see Charlotte's second grandmother's house, where she couldn't find her cat. She searched everywhere and suddenly heard the cat's voice coming from the ventilation. When she went to retrieve the cat, the spider attacked her. She was so severely injured that she couldn't call for help and was left counting her last breaths. At Charlotte's home, her parents were fighting, which she hated. She took her little brother to her room and put on headphones to block out the noise. During their fight, the spider, now grown larger, emerged from the ventilation pipe into their room and attacked both her parents. When Charlotte didn't hear her parents for a while, she went to check and found a lot of blood instead. Realizing the spider was responsible, she knew she had to kill it to save her family. She remembered that the spider was afraid of the mouth freshener tablets. She mixed many tablets with water and filled her water gun with the solution. She then entered the ventilation, knowing that the spider had killed everyone there. In the ventilation, Charlotte's dad regained consciousness and found himself bound in a strange web. His mom, wife, and son were also entangled in the web created by the spider. He tried to free his mom, but the web broke, causing them to fall. Charlotte went to her second grandmother's house and found her dead body, but still hadn't found her parents. She questioned Helga about all this, but Helga couldn't remember anything. Charlotte noticed a smell of mouth freshener on Helga's clothes and realized that this might have something to do with the spider. Helga hadn't killed them yet. Charlotte says to Helga, "Stay here and please call the helpline for help." Just as she says this, she hears her stepdad's voice coming from the other side. She rushes to the living room and finds her dad bound in webs. Charlotte quickly pours the mouth freshener solution on her dad, which dissolves all the webs. Charlotte explains that the solution can kill the spider and break its webs. They decide to save the others. Meanwhile, the rescue officer, who had come earlier for the dead parrot, arrives again after receiving the call. This is the scene we saw at the start of the movie, when the spider attacks the officer inside Helga's home. Hearing his scream, Charlotte and her dad rush in. They, too, are severely injured from previous spider attacks but want to save the officer. However, the spider confronts them. Charlotte throws the mouth freshener solution on the spider, causing it to flee. The rescue officer informs them that he has a nail gun, which can be used to kill the spider. As soon as the spider approaches them, the officer shoots it with the nail gun. Blue fluid oozes out from the spider. During this battle, a nail accidentally hits the fire alarm, activating all the water sprinklers in the building. The water washes away the mouth freshener solution they had poured on themselves, increasing the spider's threat. Seizing the opportunity, the spider returns and kills the officer. Charlotte and her dad rush to save the rest of their family. They find that the spider had placed Charlotte's mom and brother in the garbage chute. They enter the chute to rescue them. Charlotte's dad tries to activate the chute's ejector to expel the garbage and the spider out of the building, but it isn't working. He goes outside to fix the wires, but gets badly injured and collapses. Just as the spider gets close to Charlotte, she hits the chute button. Fortunately, it starts working, and the door closes just as the spider arrives, trapping and killing it. They finally survive the spider attack. They exit the chute and find Charlotte's dad, who is unconscious but alive. When he regains consciousness, everyone is overjoyed. Charlotte calls him Dad, surprising him. They all embrace, feeling that their problems are over and they can now live happily. However, the final scene reveals numerous spider eggs inside the ventilation system, indicating that the danger is far from over. What happens next is unknown. This ominous and mysterious setting brings the story to a close.